Hi everybody, Al Bernstein here with another one of my video blogs, and this one I've been looking forward to do because it's about an article, actually two articles, that you can see on the sweetscience.com, our sister companion site, and it is a very interesting set of articles. Tom Hauser, the esteemed boxing writer, created a poll among media people, matchmakers, trainers, and historians, in which 28 of us got to vote on the top 8, or presumably the top 8 welterweights of all time, or at least 8 that Tom chose, in head-to-head combat between each other. It was fascinating. What Tom did was he selected these 8 welterweights, which included Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Aaron Pryor, Emil Griffith, and Manny Pacquiao. Those 8 made up the list of welterweights. I know what you're already thinking. Aaron Pryor never actually fought as a welterweight. He was more at 140, but of course he was somebody that everyone wanted to see in the welterweights, and I think Tom threw him in because we would want to know how everybody thinks he would have done against all those welterweights of his day or the current day. So we all voted in head-to-head competition. So let's say if Tommy Hearns was going to fight Manny Pacquiao, who would come out the winner, or Sugar Ray Leonard against Sugar Ray Robinson, etc. And they were given a point for a win, and if you designated it as a draw, too hard to pick, each fighter got a half a point. Well, the results are fascinating. I want you to go on to sweetscience.com, only when I'm done talking, and check out the fine stories by Tom Hauser and some of the results. I'll give you some of them and give you my thoughts because I participated in voting on this. I will tell you that Sugar Ray Robinson ended up the winner. Not shocking because most people regard him as the greatest welterweight who ever lived. He was 131-1 as a welterweight. Can you imagine that? And there was almost no video that exists of him as a welterweight, strangely enough. It's all about him as a middleweight, where he was also a great fighter, of course. Sugar Ray Leonard finished second and Tommy Hearns finished third. And you can look at the rest of the standings on the Sweet Science. A couple of things that were very interesting about this. I rated Aaron Pryor much higher than some of my colleagues did. Now, among the different voting groups, trainers rated Aaron Pryor as number 3 among this whole group. They thought he was the 3rd best of these 8 fighters. I also rated Aaron Pryor very, very high. I don't know that he was 3rd. He might have been 4th in my list, just below Tommy Hearns. I had Leonard and Robinson as the top ones. But it was interesting that the trainers thought more of Aaron Pryor than did, for the most part, the media people, the matchmakers, or the historians. It was very hard to choose these. You know, think about it. How do you pick between Duran and Pacquiao, or Mayweather and Emil Griffith, or any of these fighters? It's very, very tough. You're going back and forth across eras, and you try not to let nostalgia get in the way. I watched tons of video on YouTube, whatever I could get to remind myself about different fighters, and tried to cast my ballot as best I could, and knowing full well that it is very, very difficult to make these choices. But the way Tom set it up is fascinating, and I think it's very, very interesting to see the results and how these men fared against each other in the eyes of this 28-person panel. And you can also see who the panelists were, so you'll know who to either get mad at or think did a brilliant job. Now, they don't have all of our individual selections in there to protect the innocent or the semi-innocent. I'm kind of glad of that. But they do have everybody listed that was a panelist. So take a look at the sweetscience.com and then test yourselves and think, if you could put all these guys against each other, who would you pick in individual matches to win these matches? It's a fascinating exercise.